Stress of abuse is destroying you. If you're in an abusive relationship, this will be very important for you to listen to. If you know someone who's in an abusive relationship, be a good one to share. Your abusive behavior is doing you harm, serious, debilitating harm. Let me give you some trauma facts. Dr. Clark does his research. There is a direct correlation between trauma and physical health conditions. I could give you study after study of this. The trauma causes it, and you're in trauma if you live with an abuser. Diabetes, COPD, heart disease, cancer, high blood pressure, you name it. And trauma is causing this physical issue. Wherever you are weak physically, genetically, and families have weaknesses, that's where the trauma of abuse will attack you. If you live with an abuser, you have PTSD. I'm telling you, post-traumatic stress disorder, no question. In fact, your PTSD is worse than PTSD that occurs after only one awful traumatic event. Okay, that's bad enough. Your abuse is ongoing. Your trauma never stops. You will suffer depression, anxiety, memory and concentration problems, obsessive negative thoughts. Sound familiar? The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration describes trauma this way. Events or circumstances experienced by an individual as physically or emotionally harmful or life-threatening, which result in adverse effects on the individual's functioning and well-being. Okay, bottom line is you're being destroyed. Physically, emotionally, they don't mention spiritual because it's not a spiritual organization, but emotional, physical, and spiritual damage and destruction. This describes you, doesn't it? Look, we all deal with stress. It's a normal part of life. The stress of living with an abuser is not normal. It is abnormal. It is constant. It's severe. It's damaging. All the clients I work with, in person or by telephone, who live with an abuser tell me they are not doing a good job in any area of their lives. The breakdown is across the board. They're having trouble at work if they work outside the home. They're having difficulty raising their kids and being the loving moms they want to be. They're not as close to their friends. They're feeling distant and awkward with their families. They're struggling to serve God in their church. My response to these clients' terrible strain and unhappiness is this: I believe you. You're credible. You give me a very specific description of what you're living with. You aren't able to do a good job in any of these areas. The stress of living with your abuser is taking a toll on you across the board. No part of your life escapes the impact of his abuse. Of course, your abuser feels fine. He sleeps at night. He feels no pain. His physical health isn't affected by your lousy marriage, because he doesn't get it. When you only have a conscience, nothing bothers you. And everything's your fault anyway, from his point of view. Spiritually, he's actually a terrible mess, but he would never believe that. When you don't have the capacity to truly care about someone else, nothing that happens to that person bothers you. He could care less that you're miserable and lonely and breaking down. He believes that's your problem, that it's all in your head, that it's all your fault. You are losing yourself, abused spouse. Man or woman, you are being broken down day by day, month by month, year by year, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. You will reach the point, if you have not already, where you don't recognize yourself anymore. You're allowing him to rip from you your self-worth, your identity, your sense of value as a person, your feelings of dignity. Soon there will be nothing left of you. He's taking everything from you. You're not living, you're surviving, barely. Here's what one woman told me about the abuse she has lived with in her marriage. This could be you. We've been married 20 years, she said. It took me 15 years to figure out that my husband was an abuser. So many ladies aren't even aware of it. Even men, wouldn't even call it abuse. Don't want to go there. She says, I didn't want to see that or believe it, that it was abuse. It took another 5 years to completely grasp and accept his unwillingness even to acknowledge his treatment of me and to change. I spent years suppressing his painful words and actions, trying to forget many of the nasty things he'd done to me and our kids. She continues, this relationship has cost me everything. She started to cry at this point. I am at a point now where I would rather not live than wake up one more day living in fear, isolation, and misery. That's a breakdown. I feel like I'm trapped in a prison. The pain is so consuming and overwhelming. I can't see how my heart can bear any more pain. I have surrendered my life for him, speaking about her abuser. I gave up my dreams for him to pursue his needs and desires. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm not the person I once was. Now that, if you want sad, that's sad. I'm saying to this lady, I'm telling you, don't lose yourself. Every woman I've helped escape from her abuser has said these same things to me. Once you're out, here's what I'm told. I feel so much better. I didn't realize how sick I was until I left him. I am regaining my physical health. I have a lot more energy now. I am actually happy for the first time in a long time. I'm closer to God, which is so important to me. I feel like I've got myself back. My emotional issues are clearing up. I can see a bright future now. That could be you and needs to be you. It isn't easy to realize all the awful damage your abuser is inflicting on you. It's hard to accept that this abuse is causing you to die a slow, painful death, but it is. My job is to convince you of that. And God says, here's the good news. God says you don't have to keep suffering.